After Hours.
On this episode of the History of the Cores After Hours podcast, we discuss the Nintendo core band known as Horse the Band. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at IsSurvivedByPro for news and latest episode postings. And make sure to subscribe to the show. Leave us a 5-star review and write us a comment on YouTube or whatever podcast service you're using. And if you'd like to see us do some live streams, leave us a comment or tweet us the keyword stream. Now, without further ado, let's start the show.
The devil is in Atlanta. Army surrounded.
Welcome back to the History of the Cores After Hours podcast, where each and every episode I, Curtis, sit down with my good friend and avid listener of the History of the Cores podcast, Erik. What's going on, Erik? Maestro?
I'm conducting my symphony here.
My symphony of madness.
Chaos.
Man. It's I just made
chaos.
a comment before we got on here that it's been a little bit. I mean, we've only done one episode so far to start the year, and it was for Arsonist Get All the Girls, and that feels like 3 or 4 months ago. I don't know why. It just feels that way to me. So
We're old.
But
Time goes by fast now.
But just a little reminder, just in case people have forgotten how this podcast goes. I like to turn the reins over to Erik to start an episode because he likes to bring in don't write him too hard now. Don't forget the sugar cube. Now he likes to bring in a little unknown band sometimes, maybe a band he saw open up at a concert, and shine a little spotlight on them to the world. So Erik, take it away. Who do you got today on your band spotlight?
This one's not completely unknown. Definitely has been out there around for a minute since 2014, I think. And they actually got a place on the last Warped Tour. So they've
Really?
been out.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't realize they had gotten that big that quick. They do have something like 24,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, so not a big number. But anyway, they are Action Adventure. They're kind of a pop punk band, more or less, but they can really slide into something kind of like lighter end of metalcore at times. I mean, they got breakdowns and solos, so that's not pop punk, typically speaking.
Right.
They are from Chicago, Illinois. They do have 2 full-length albums, if you want to call them full-length, 20 and 30 minutes, respectively.
I was supposed to say the 30-minute one, yeah. And then their first album was 20 minutes or so. I was like,
pretty short.
Okay.
But they got lots of singles and EPs to choose from too.
Yes. Yeah.
Currently, they're on Pure Noise Records, from what I could figure.
It's a good label. It's a good label.
I thought that was interesting too. Seen them live last year in concert. They do have a pretty good live energy. Enjoyed that. They're engaging with the crowd, which I've definitely aired my grievances about bands that don't do that.
Well, and I would hope to.
Devil Wears Prada.
It feels like if you're going to be in a pop punk band specifically, you better have that connection, man, for sure.
Oh yeah. Well, especially in a small venue. The Vanguard's a pretty small venue.
Right.
Other venues I've been to like that, small. You can really engage with the fan out there in the first several rows.
Right.
It's not like you're on top of the world and you're going, "Hey, you way out there, I like your hair," or whatever.
Is that a person? What is that?
What's the blue dot
it's
out
just
there?
a pole.
I don't know.
Right.
Is that a hair ball? Is that a person?
What is that? Oh, it's a trash can. Oh, my bad.
Is that a guy in a Captain America outfit? I don't know. Can't tell. All things I've seen at concerts. You know how that goes.
We're speaking from experience.
Oh, yeah. see some weird stuff out there. I like it better than the shirtless, sweaty guys, but just personal preference.
Oh, geez.
Those are always the ones who want to mosh. They're always the ones who want to crowd surf. Why? Just
rub up on you with their sweaty belly.
Yeah. I don't want it. Anyway, so back to an action adventure. Generally, they were pretty good live. I enjoyed them a lot. They've kind of become one of my regular putting things on. I'm like, hey, you know what I want to listen to? Action adventure.
Okay. Nice.
So I've enjoyed them. I've been on a pop punk kick for about 3 months now, I think. But, about ever since I seen them in concert, I guess. And yeah, they're definitely worth a try. Look them up, give them a shot. Action/adventure.
When you first told me that band, it made me think of an old Victory Records band. I think it was Action. So I kept.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I was like, oh wait, is this the first? Is that one? No, it's not. It's not that band. No, it's
not them. Because I thought the same thing when I went to the concert for. Pretty sure this was with Greywind, and I was like, okay, so who are the opening guys? And okay, who are their second opening guys? Oh, this is actually kind of a cool sound. Yeah, I'm digging this. And it turned out to be this guys, but I was like, do I know them? Is there a reason I know that name? I think you're right. It's Action or something like that. For back in the day.
Back in the day. Man, I was looking at the current Pure Noise roster. Some good bands on there. Yeah, I mean, obviously, like you said, Action Adventure 68, Josh Scoggins duo bands on there. Ami Affliction. What's some of the other ones? Belmont's on there. That's a good band. Dang it, Counterparts is on there. Early November, man, that's a throwback. I haven't heard that band in a long time. I didn't even notice this one the first time through, but Galactic Empire's on there.
Nice.
Nice. That's funny, man. But even looking at they've got an alumni list at the very bottom too. And there's some pretty good names on there. I've forgotten that Vanna was on there at one point. Hit the Lights. That was a good. You ever listen to Hit the Lights? That used to be a pretty good pop punk band. Yeah. There was another one I'd seen on here. Oh, Daybreaker. Man, that was a good band back in the day. Anyway, yeah, Action Adventure. I've enjoyed a little bit. I've only gotten to listen to a little bit, but I've enjoyed so far what I'm hearing. And I think I said this before with Josh. My opinion with pop punk, it feels like it's a really hard genre to mess up.
It is.
So I don't think I've ever really found a pop punk band before that I'm just like, ew.
Right.
Never
I like how they stretch their
but...
fingers though a little bit into kind of that metalcore, classic metal, whatever you want to call it. Like I said,
you got some
breakdowns and solos and some heavy vocals there for sure.
Right.
Some different
so they're trying
things
to
branch
out a little bit too. Yeah.
Right.
So
I guess you could call that post-hardcore is kind of what it kind of slides into there.
Gravitating toward there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see.
For the most part, they are pop punk.
Right.
90% of the time.
So last full-length album was 2022, Imposter Syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Had 3 singles come out since then, 1 in 23, 2 in 24. So maybe we're in line for a third full-length album here coming up.
Would not surprise me. I've been wrong before, though.
Right.
Like Roses has proved me wrong. I'm shocked they didn't come out with one.
Right.
I watched a video, and they actually had a video there at the end, and it said full-length album, ? Or something like that. I was like, oh, yes, please.
It makes me think of Impending Doom just put out a new EP. I thought it was a new full-length album, but it's a new EP. And I was like, man, when was the last time they put out a full-length album? It was 2018 when they put out their last full-length. Since then, they've put out 3 EPs. And I'm like, okay. I mean, please don't tell me you're going to put a full-length album of those 3 EPs combined, because I'm going to say cash grab all day. And then 2, it's like, come on, man. You've done 3 EPs. You can't give me a full-length album by now. Come on.
Right.
But anyway. All right. Well, that is Action Adventure. I almost said action, action. I had to go action, adventure. Yeah, action,
Yes, that one.
adventure from Pure Noise Records. Awesome, man. Awesome. Alrighty, Eric, well, let's dive on in to the band that is this whole episode surrounding. That is Horse, the band. Like me and Josh said, not to be confused with the other band, Band of Horses. I had to think about that name for a second. So, you ever listen to Band of Horses?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Let me
It's kind of like indie
see if I
rock.
ring any
There's a
bells
little bit
here.
of like country twang to it, a little bit, kind of folkish. It may not be up your alley, but um, we had a good laugh
And
about that.
is
Like,
it weird? Might be up my alley.
I don't think it's weird. I mean, I think kind of like what you're saying of like action adventure is pop, mainly pop punk, but they do branch out into some of these other areas too. I think I would put Horse the Band as indie rock, but branching with some different vibes here, like I was saying earlier about like a little bit of country twang to it, a little bit of folk, a little bit just kind of rock in general. But anyway, Horse the Band is who we're talking about today, and those two bands want to even throw action adventure in there. These three bands are different. Okay,
Very. All
very.
three.
So, as always, Eric, I like to start out an episode with two generic questions. First one is, how are you, Eric, introduced to the band known as Horse, the band?
I have no memory of how I was introduced to them.
They wiped my memory. I woke up
I
one day
would,
and they were in my Spotify. I don't
they
know
were
what happened.
just there. I don't know. But I would guess it was probably about the same time I found 100 Dead Rabbits back in the day.
Okay. Yeah,
I
oh,
would
man.
assume. I don't
So
really
good.
know.
Oh, the
I did
first time I
recently,
heard, go ahead.
yeah, 100 Dead Rabbits.
Oh
Yeah,
man, the
that's a
first time I heard
memory.
that, I was just like, I was like, what is
What?
happening? Just like those vocal style combined with that like Nintendo core. I was like, oh,
Right.
we're going
So
down that
weird.
rabbit hole, man.
Oh, yeah. But I recently kind of got back into 100 Dead Rabbits and I was like, what's this? Oh, yeah. Horse the Band. I kind of remember that a little bit. And like I said, I don't have any memory of my entryway. I don't remember what happened, where it come from. It just showed up one day in
You,
my iPod playlist.
yeah, you must
And
have hit it so hard that it wiped your memory. It's like, ugh, like a druggie who did too much drugs.
yeah,
Oh, what
yeah.
happened to
Oh,
me?
I never did that. I don't know what you're talking about.
Right. I never listened
But
to that band before.
when I got back into them kind of here recently, or kind of dipped my toe back in, I guess I could
Mm,
say, uh, I went and looked on their Spotify and it had this really weird uh, bio. And I was like, I expected to go in there and go, these guys are Nintendo Core, but don't like to push that, blah, 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 formed
right.
in whatever year by Mr. This and that and the other thing. And that's what I expect to see typically. Explain a little bit about you, explain who you are, when you're from, all that. But no, theirs was something to the effect of I couldn't find the actual one. So this is just a kind of what I'm remembering and what I kind of found. But it would have read something like Horse the band is part of the bird family Picae, which also includes the Pecults, the Winecks, and the Sapsuckers. Horse the band is found worldwide, except for in Australia, New Guinea, New Zealand, extreme polar regions. Horse the band live in forests or woodland habitats, although a few species are known to live in treeless areas. Yada, yada, yada. And it was, Horse the band was chiefly known for their characteristic behavior and mostly forage for insect prey on the trunks of branches of trees. Often communicate by drumming their beaks, producing reverberatory sound that could be heard over some distance.
Like
Yada yada
keyboards.
yada.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it basically they took the Wikipedia entry for I think woodpeckers or something like that, and replaced the word woodpecker or family or whatever with horse the band.
Where's the band? Okay. Which, I mean, makes
So
you stand out.
yeah, I was sitting there
So,
reading that, going, "What in the
what?
world did I just read?"
Oh,
So
man.
they recently updated that. They're talking about they're doing a 2025 tour. So unfortunately, I couldn't find that exact one, but that was really funny when I got
Ah,
kind of back into them. I was like, what even is this?
Right.
So,
Well, you've heard their discography now. You've read the bio, as weird as it
yes,
could be. So how would you describe Horse the Band to a brand new listener, Eric?
I know they don't like the term, but I'd probably go with just Nintendo Core as a whole. But also with a caveat, just don't take it too seriously.
Right.
They don't take themselves seriously. You shouldn't either.
I was kind of wondered why they try to distance themselves from Nintendo Core, that label. I don't know
Yeah, I
if it
don't
was
know.
just like, yeah, I don't know. I was just kind of wondered that. I thought it was a good thing to lean into, man. And I told
Yeah, I
Josh
don't
is
know if
like,
maybe they were possibly getting threatened with being sued over it, or because Nintendo can be kind of
maybe
grabby
that's
about that
true.
stuff. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's true. I told Josh like with this one, we're talking a lot of times of, it's guitar driven, or I think of like My Chemical Romance, man. Even though they have great guitarists, it feels like the music really goes with where Gerard Way goes with his vocals, In this one, and I think it goes along with that Nintendo Core, label. This is very keyboard driven, man. The guitar is there, and I think with it, when I listen to them and I think to myself, yeah, it's very keyboard driven. I think it helps the guitar because then the guitar, only being one person playing guitar, is not really like put at the forefront in the spotlight of like you gotta make it good, or whatever. And so he does a good job in the background of writing some really good riffs.
Oh yeah,
So I think it helps with the guitar there too, but this is definitely keyboard driven, man. So, um,
or
and
Game
even
Boy
Josh
driven
said, yeah, oh yeah, exactly. Well, that's true. Yeah.
at one point.
Um, Josh even said that, we were talking about how to describe this band, and he had a hard time with it. And he just, he finally said, look, it's just, I can't describe it to you. You just got to put the headphones on and listen to it because it's just, to do it
Right.
justice is so hard to do where it's like I gotta let the music just speak for itself. And I agree with him on that one.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
but you're right. It's like don't go into this thinking this is a very serious thing. They're not
No,
serious. They're not taking themselves serious here, man. you know.
no.
So alrighty, let's dive on into the discography here, Eric. After several years of member changes and early demo EPs, the band would finally release their official debut album, Our Borlax, which gives the listener a great intro into a foundation of future releases for this band. Riding on the backbone of the featured song Cutsman, this 34 minutes, 43-second album does not disappoint the listener from the get-go. Consistency is key for this band as 2 years later, their sophomore release, The Mechanical Hand, would hit the scene, taking the Nintendo Core to a new level with such songs as Birdo, A Million Exploding Suns, The House of Boo, Heroes Die, and Lord Gold Throne Room. Again, 2 years after their sophomore release, the band would return with a new album diving even deeper into the Nintendo Core hole with A Natural Death. From the album cover, looking like
Mm-hmm.
a visual from a classic game, which honestly, every time I look at it, it makes me think of Oregon Trail. I don't know about you, but it makes me think of the classic
Yeah,
Oregon Trail
you died
game.
of dysentery.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Snake bite. Ah.
Ah,
Um, but from the album cover looking like a visual from a classic game to the use of the Game Boy, like you said, Eric, as an actual instrument by keyboardist Erik Engstrom, Horse the Band delivered yet another well-rounded album, even though Josh had a problem with vocalist Nathan Weineke's attempt at a lower vocal register. Nevertheless, this album would feature such classics as Hyperborea, Murder, Face of Bear, New York City, Joshua's personal favorite, Sex Raptor, and the sing-along Kangarooster Meadows. Eric, 3 albums here. How do you feel about them?
overall, pretty good. Uh, Sound wise, the Figure It Out era was pretty cut and dry. I feel like
Yeah.
they found it and they stuck with it, and then they ran with it. Of course, I mean, it's not. I don't know.
And then they
It's not
died of
exactly like a
dysentery.
yes. It's not a cut and dry like this is the sound forever and ever. Amen. We don't
No, no,
change.
yeah.
Period. Because they do evolve a little bit over
Right.
time for sure. but they stuck with what they like. And that being said, lyrically in this block is a little questionable at times, and that might get back to that whole take yourself too seriously thing.
Yes, yeah,
But
yeah, I agree.
let's see, which one did I write down here? Check out pretty much any song from Mechanical Hand.
Yeah,
but the Lord Gold Throne Room. Blah.
it's hard to say. Yeah, I don't know why.
I don't know why that is hard, but that one caught my attention for its weirdly, overtly sexual themes.
Oh yeah,
But yeah, that one caught me. I was like, "What am I listening to?
What in the world?"
My!"
Yeah,
But I like that they progressed more into that Nintendo core in a natural death. So they really embraced it. I guess let me put it that way.
God,
it was
I
always
love the
there,
keyboards
but they really,
on. Yeah. Oh God,
Yeah.
I love the keyboards on that album. Oh, so good.
It's like they pulled it up really to the forefront, and they
Right.
really rode with it, and I like that.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
So.
Alrighty, in between the Mechanical Hand and A Natural Death, the band would record a 4-song EP inspired by pizza, entitling it the Pizza EP. Eric, Josh, and I agreed. There really, especially for this band, there really wasn't a need for this EP. I mean, just add a couple of these songs to an album and call it a day, right? I mean, what do you think, Eric?
Honestly, I kind of like this little side quest.
Okay. He does enjoy him some pizza.
I do enjoy me some pizza.
Now, all of a sudden, all I can think of, man, all I can think of is going to Top That Pizza, and you would just pile everything on the menu on top of that pizza like it was a freaking mountain.
Poor lady behind the counter goes, "Well, what would you like?" Yes.
Yes.
What do you mean? I didn't stutter.
Yes.
Yes.
You heard me. What everything?
What of it all?
He'd go through the oven and just like knock like half of the stuff off because it was too tall.
That'd be about right. But yeah, I did like it. I think of it like a side quest in a video game,
Okay.
And that's kind of what they got off the main track, and they went to the side quest route, and that side quest led to pizza.
Well, it's interesting to me though that later on they would come back and say, "Yeah, we kind of regret doing this EP."
It's still fun and it suits them. I enjoy it. There's a couple
I wonder if,
that I really like.
I wonder if it's more of a deal of we took off tour where we were making money to spend money when we could have been making money. What are we doing, guys?
And honestly, if we're thinking that way, I think Josh said it, take a couple of these songs, sprinkle them in there to the next couple albums, call it a day.
Right.
Definitely wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have been out of place at all.
Yeah. I was going to say with how they operate, it wouldn't have been out of place at all, man. You go, pizza song, Lord Gold Throne Room, pizza song. It's not weird at all, man.
It really wouldn't be.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Finally, rounding out the band's discography to date, we have Desperate Living, which starts to make a turn down another path unlike the one the band had followed up to this point. Still featuring some elements of the past, the band starts to slow things down with songs like Cloudwalker, Desperate Living, Shapeshift, and Arrive. After some time spent under hiatus and reunions, the band would release a new EP in 2020 entitled Your Fault, featuring 2 new songs, which felt like a return to their earlier sound and a cover. Eric, give me your thoughts on Desperate Living and Your Fault EP, and do we see another full-length album coming from these guys?
I think it's your fault, but we'll get to that. Desperate Living for me is kind of meh. It didn't really catch me like the earlier releases did.
Right.
They tried some new stuff and it didn't work as well for me. It felt like some soft spots. And then all the softer spots, you're going to play this kind of old school 80s synth. And it's not like a updated 80s synth. It's like I just grabbed that straight out of the 80s and just plopped it in there.
Right.
I don't know. Your Fault feels like a mix, and it was a little bit of a return, but you take Natural Death and Desperate Living, kind of squish it together. So a little bit of a slight return there, but they still kept a good chunk of that new sound. If they continued on that path, that might be cool, but it has been 5 years since that EP, and that is rarely a good sign.
Well, especially now when we're just doing like anniversary tours and like reunion stuff here and there. Yeah,
they're doing a 20th anniversary tour this year.
Right.
So I don't know what they're planning on actually doing with that.
I wonder if with Desperate Living, the way that it turned out, I wonder how much of that is contributed to getting signed by a label that you've been desperately trying to get, signed by, and then finally you do. Like, how much of that is like trying to play up to the label and like trying to appease them, but still try to be like kind of true to yourself, maybe. I don't know. I always kind of wondered that when we were looking at this band originally. What do you think about the album artwork for that one, man? It's like the little like kind of portrait of all of them, and all of them are like unhappy except for Erik Engstrom on keyboards. He's smiling with those pearly whites and the big mink coat. It's like, what the heck am I looking at, man?
It's very weird and it's very them.
Oh man, very Desperate Living. That's for sure, man. Alrighty, we're right through this band, man. Like nothing.
Zoom.
It's a great band. I mean, again, I think it kind of goes back to like what we were talking about at the beginning, though. We were trying to describe it, and Josh said it best. It's like we can only say so much about this band, right? I mean, this is more of a put the headphones on and listen to yourself and enjoy it. Like you said, don't take it too serious. Let's relax, man. Let's relax and just enjoy.
Take a chill pill and go for it.
Exactly, man. Alrighty, well, we are at that point of the episode, Erik, where I like to ask for your favorites. Albums, songs, lyrics, riffs, keyboard riffs, album artworks, song names, so on and so forth. Take it away, Erik. What do you got?
So, album, I'm just going to upset you guys because I can. I'm going to go with Pizza EP.
Okay, for his favorite album, he's going with an EP. I think this is the first actually that you've gone with an EP for your favorite album.
Well,
okay,
I did actually. If I want to go with a full length, it's Natural Death for sure. That's an easy pick for me. But I really did like the Pizza EP.
Okay.
I mean, it's just fun. I enjoy it. Again, this band just don't take them serious at all, and that's one that. It's like you guys, I think we're talking about on the original episode about Desperate Living. If I went and thought about Horse the Band, I'm not going to look up anything off Desperate Living. That's probably not my choice.
Right.
Even song by song is probably not going to be the one I go for. But Pizza EP, maybe.
Okay.
It's pretty close running with Natural Death, honestly. I would, depending on how much I want, a little pizza or a lot of Natural Death.
Yeah, I was going to say, how much am I hungry for pizza right now?
Yes.
See, this is the beauty of these two podcasts together. The three of us, there's a good variety of like what we like, and it's not all the same. We're kind of branching out here and there, so it's good.
We're kind of weird together.
It's good for business. Good for business.
Oh yeah.
All right, what else you got? Right?
Yeah. Lyrically, I got you some goodies.
Oh boy, this should be interesting.
Oh yeah. So, tortured and mangled, hungry and hateful, vicious and covered in viscous fluid. That sounds wonderful. Hungry for pizza, the cannibal feasts, a creature of cravings and conspiracies. Black arts conspire with brick oven masters, birthing his face. Poetry.
Pizza. Dang it, now I'm hungry for pizza.
Pizza. Pizza. Give me some pizza. Those are more. That's extra lyrics for you. You're welcome.
Right. Thank you.
But
it's a freebie.
Yes, a little extra for you. That's extra pepperoni right on top.
Right, exactly.
But songs, let's go to songs. I do have a special mention before we get to that top three.
Okay.
The Black Hole at the very end has the Muppet hecklers.
Yes.
That's probably the best part of that whole album.
It was great.
Yeah, it was great. Wonderful. It was all right. It was terrible. Guys, get out of here.
Terrible. Boo. Love it.
That cracked me up. I really enjoyed that. So anyway, now my top 3.
Number 3.
The Red Tornado.
Oh, God.
Whoosh.
I was not expecting that one. Oh, man.
It's weird, and I enjoy it. I don't know what to tell you.
No, that's Horse the Band for you.
It is.
That's for sure.
Along with the next one.
Number 2.
Pizza Knife.
Oh, my gosh.
What'd you expect me to say? Where pizza?
How much more pizza is there? I'm afraid. I'm afraid to say number 1. Number 1.
I'm pretty basic actually on this one. I like Murder. Murder's a good song.
You could have clipped that one off. If you're just now joining us, Erik is not a murderer, at least that I know of. I hope not. I might be next. I like murder.
List.
As he said, with a twinkle in his eye. Oh man, that intro though, where it's just like the drums going and like the 8-bit going. Oh, so good, man. So good.
It's really hard to beat that. That song is fantastic.
Yeah.
That may be my entry point. I don't remember, honestly.
Natural Death?
I came in on this.
Yeah.
It's a possibility. I don't really remember. Honestly, if I was going to tell somebody to try Horse the Band, it would, if you want just a taste, Pizza's fun. If you got somebody who's not real serious about life. But for a more normal human being, I might go with and they like sound bits and stuff. Say they like Iwabo and odd things like that. Hit them with Natural Death. I think that's a good place.
Okay.
If you don't like Natural Death, I don't know that you're going to like either direction this band went, backwards or forwards.
Right. So. Yeah, I think we both went with Mechanical Hand, I think. I feel like our Borlax is good, but I feel like it's still too new and raw.
It is a figure it out too.
It's definitely the figure out. And I feel like when you come into Mechanical Hand, it feels tighter. It feels like you got more cohesiveness throughout the album. Where for me, it felt like our Borlax felt very kind of spotty and songs that really jumped out to me. How can you go wrong with Cutsman for one? But that's a good one. Anyway. Alrighty. Well, final thoughts on the band known as Horse the Band.
Well, we've all said it at this point. Don't take it too serious. Give them a listen. They're weird, but they're enjoyable. So go for it.
Go for it. And then go listen to 100 Dead Rabbits. Yeah.
Yes, then you can do that.
All right. Let's get on out of here. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at IsSurviveByPro for news and latest episode postings. Not just on the show, people, but other shows as well. That's right. We have more. We have the History of the Chorus podcast, where me and Josh take a band from the chorus genre. We look at their discography, their endless member changes, and so on and so on. And then we come back here. We talk about that band later on. We also have the Red Right Hand podcast, which has covered all 6 seasons of the BBC/Netflix hit show, The Peaky Blinders, eventually the movie as well. We also have the Throne of the Dragon podcast, which has covered season 1, season 2, eventually season 3 and season 4 of HBO's House of the Dragon, and this summer 2025, season 1 of HBO's A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. Also, while you're on Twitter, make sure to follow my co-hosts at Joshua Lynn Gary. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review, write us a comment on whatever podcast service you're using. If you want to listen to us and see our smiling faces, head on over to our YouTube page or Spotify and just search Is Survive By Productions, and that'll have every episode from all of those shows. Subscribe to the channel, thumbs up the video. I'm trying to figure out what band this is that it switched over to. It's some chick singing now. The band is called Closure. You ever heard of them?
I have not.
Closure is a band from Sydney, Australia. What a lovely bio. Alrighty. Maybe, who knows? Maybe they'll show up on the next spotlight. Who knows, man? Alrighty. Until the next episode where we're talking about the band known as The Faceless, we'll see ya.